Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. Let's jump right in. Merril Hoge goes nuclear on Shedeur Sanders, says it will set back the Steelers organization 3 to 4 years if they draft him. I couldn't agree more. And what am I basing that off of? You just don't like Shedeur. You don't like his dad. You're a racist. No, I watched the BYU game, all 22 film. I watched the Oregon game. I watched the USC game. The BYU game, reports came out. Shedeur rented out a strip club for 2 days before the game. He showed up. He crapped the bed, threw the ball on the ground for a fumble, threw it up in the air, running backwards for a pick. Played absolutely horrible. His best record in college football was 9-4, 8-4. Accomplished absolutely nothing in college football. Had his jersey retired? Really? 8-4 record, never played in a major bowl game, and Colorado retires his jersey? Like, are you like Dion? Are you behind this? Because if you are, it's so cringe. It's beyond cringe. You just get exhausted from all the Sanders. Like Shiloh, for instance. Shiloh is a spoiled. They're both spoiled. They don't work hard. Shiloh's not explosive. He doesn't have good instincts. He doesn't take good angles to the ball, but we're supposed to believe he's a second-round pick. Same thing with Shedeur. Shedeur, you think that Shedeur Sanders should go round 1, pick number 1? We've heard that for a while. What are you basing that off of? Because that's what, like ESPN, if you say anything that's somewhat truthful about Shedeur's play, you're a... Between Stephen A. Smith, racist Ryan Clark, Louis Riddick, it's like as soon as you say something about Shedeur, they all lose their mind. So let me guess. The other 8,000 black players that the scouts scouted, were they racist there? Did they? They took all their racism and put it off to the side for those players, but only brought their racism back for Shedeur Sanders. That's what woke ESPN would like you to believe. All of them. It's ridiculous. And you keep hearing these reports. Shedeur wants to collaborate what plays are called with his new team. Shedeur, you're not even... See, this is the problem with Shedeur Sanders. He thinks that he's already won the starting job. He still thinks he's being coached by his daddy, who just hands him the job before the season even starts every year. So that's another thing that doesn't get brought up. When Shedeur has to compete for his starting job, how is he going to respond to the competition? And I don't think it goes well at all. That would be the equivalent when Big Ben was drafted by the Steelers, round 1, I think like pick 20-something. Who knows? Doesn't matter. But you get it. Do you think Big Ben walked into the building and walked into the coach's office as a rookie that wasn't named the starter and said, I want to collaborate with the coaches on what plays should be called? Are you effing kidding me? Like, are you serious? Shedeur didn't even win the starting job yet, and he's already putting it out there that he thinks he should be treated like Tom Brady and have input on the offensive game plan. You know when Belichick started to do that when Tom Brady, after he won his first Super Bowl? Shedeur Sanders hasn't taken a snap in the NFL yet. He acts like he's already the starting quarterback of whatever team drafts him and that he should have input and collaborate how the offense is ran. And I'm going to get to that video from ESPN. This is what Merril Hoge had to say. The best way to sum him up is he's a really good college quarterback. Hoge said via 102.5 WDVES's morning show with Randy Bauman. His accuracy is good. His processing is good. And when I say good, I use a scale from 1 to 10. Okay, so good is around 5. So if you're a 5 in college, okay, those are the two most important aspects of transitioning to the National Football League, and then you build from there. Anticipation, pocket awareness, and then when we start building, but those two things, if you're a 5, you're not a first rounder. You're not a franchise guy. And everybody, Shedeur, he holds onto the ball too long. He sways. He doesn't step up clean in the pocket. He's not a good leader. He can't run. He can't scramble. Both years at Colorado, his rushing yards were negative 77 yards and negative 50 yards. What the hell are... Well, I already know. It has to do with politics. It has nothing to do with football. With ESPN, it has nothing to do with football. They just want Deion's son to get the bag, as they say. And they don't care who it affects. They don't care about the fan base. They don't care about the coaches that'll be fired. They're going to put this narrative out there to draft day that anybody that doesn't have something positive to say about Shedeur Sanders is a racist. And that's why all the AFC scouts and coaches that are talking about the team meetings, they're staying anonymous. Not because they don't believe in what they're saying, because they have a team to run. They don't want those teams, the majority of the black players, to think that they're a racist, and then they have all types of internal strife in the locker room. They don't want that. Shedeur Sanders, not a good leader at all. Doesn't have a strong arm. Can't run. Against his best competition, he never showed up. Watch the BYU game. Watch the Oregon game. Watch the USC game. He's not a great player. It's as simple as that. And all you'll ever hear is Louis Riddick and the rest of the clown show blame the offensive line. Oh, really? So Shedeur can't get put in the shotgun? Find that receiver, make that throw, make the play, elevate his team. When Troy Aikman was on the Cowboys his first year, what do you think he played with? What do you think Dan Marino played with in Pitt? Yeah, he might have had one or two stud offensive linemen, but he didn't go to the best team in the country. He elevated his team. Andrew Luck at Stanford. They're not the best team in the Pac-10 at the time. But Shedeur Sanders, he doesn't elevate any team he's ever played on. You're going to say you don't think he's an NFL player? No, I think he's a player that should get picked in the 3rd or 4th round, and he should be thanking God every single day that this quarterback draft class is not strong. Because if it was, he'd be going in the 4th round. Then Merril went on to say, let's go to the IQ level. Hoge said while talking about the top QBs in recent drafts like C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels, he ain't even close. He ain't even in the ballpark. I agree. When you don't make football your life as the quarterback, you're not going to have a high football IQ. And I said this in last year's draft that Jaden Daniels should have been the first overall quarterback taken off the board. You'd be like, you're lying. You're just saying that because they made a good run. I said it all the way up to the draft that he needs to be the first quarterback off the board. And never mind CJ. CJ Stroud is an elite quarterback. He's an elite, fantastic quarterback. So let me guess. All the scouts and people like me that love C.J. Stroud and love Jaden Daniels, we took our racism, we gave our racism a timeout, and we only brought our racism back to be critical of Shedeur Sanders, right? Because anybody that tells the truth about Shedeur Sanders is called a racist. It's just a joke. It really is. Hoge really drilled home the point that Sanders threw a lot of bubble screen concepts with a low degree of difficulty. It's possible Colorado is just protecting him from a poor offensive line. Whatever slant you want to put on it, Sanders did throw 33.8% of his passes at or behind the line of scrimmage. That obviously played a role in his conference high completion rate of 74%. To sum it up, Hoge really laid into Sanders as a prospect. He can't handle the expectations that are coming his way. He's going to be an epic failure, and he's going to set your organization back another 2 or 3 years. He said, I'm only laughing because I've been saying this for months. I've been saying this during the college football season, so that's why I'm laughing. That's finally somebody else came out and said the same thing because they're all afraid to say it. While bashing Sanders, Hoge also led on that he is higher on at least 2 other quarterback prospects. He was asked specifically about Jackson Dart. I would take him over Shedeur, Hoge said. He also seems to indicate that he likes Syracuse's Kyle McCord better than Sanders. The Steelers held pre-draft visits with all 3. So let's watch ESPN, their insane take on why the Steelers should take Shedeur Sanders. It's just laughable. Let's jump into the video. Woke ESPN, the ESPN that makes it about race 24/7, never disappoints. And, Merril's probably not going to get into this aspect of it, but I just pray the Pittsburgh Steelers do not draft Shedeur Sanders. You know what? I want Shedeur Sanders to go pick one, round number one, give him the cars, the money, the chains, the girls, give him everything. So then when he shows what kind of terrible quarterback he truly is, we can hear all the excuses from everybody else why he's so bad. And trust me, it'll be everybody else's fault but Shedeur's.
Need to nail the draft most of any team.
Well, yeah, I think so. Got to put it in perspective. Love me some Mike Tomlin, obviously. I how much respect all of us have for him. Do you know the Pittsburgh Steelers have lost 6 consecutive playoff games? Do you know they set an NFL record? In each one of those games, they've trailed by at least 21 points. In all 6 consecutive playoff losses. Okay? They haven't won a playoff game since 2016. And they're the first team in the Super Bowl ever to go 8 straight seasons without a losing record, but 0 playoff wins. And you're in the same division as Cincinnati. You're in the same division as Baltimore. Joe Burrow has been able to keep his weapons. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins are staying in Cincinnati. So they putting up points. They good for 30 a game. They good for 30 a game. And you got Lamar Jackson and King Henry. You know what they bring to the table. I mean, damn. You're the Pittsburgh Steelers. You went out and you got DK Metcalf. You got Pickens, who's already a stud when he wants to play. You got Freiermuth as a tight end spot. He's one of the better tight ends in the National Football League. You lost Najee Harris, but you kept Warren. And oh, by the way, your offensive line has improved. It's really just about a quarterback. So to me, when I think about the NFL draft, here's the bottom line for me with the Steelers. If you don't get a quarterback, you failed. You got to find a quarterback. Now, I don't give a damn how you do it. I don't care if it's through the draft. I don't care if it's...
Steven, get it right. Mike Tomlin failed. See, you can't... When things are going right with the Steelers, it's, oh, Mike Tomlin's the greatest coach ever. He's a Hall of Fame coach. If the Steelers fired him, every team in the league would want him immediately. And then as soon as something goes wrong, oh, it's not Mike Tomlin's fault. It's the organization's fault. It's Art Rooney's fault. It's the old white guy in the personnel department. It's never Mike Tomlin's fault when things don't go right, according to Stephen A. Smith. So all these other quarterbacks that were brought in before or after Ben, who were they brought in by? Mike Tomlin. Who is the person that hasn't developed a quarterback since Big Ben? Mike Tomlin.
Do free agency. I don't give a damn if they got to kidnap somebody. Go Mission Impossible, put one of them face masks on them and change the hood and make them look like somebody different than what they. I don't care what you got to do.
Stephen is ready to choose
something.
Violence. Lewis,
you got to do something to get a quarterback. It's just the truth.
Yeah, they do. They do. Look, there's a lot of things that Pittsburgh needs to get done specifically at quarterback, and I agree with you there. I don't think they're the team that's under the most pressure in this draft, though. I think that one's easy. I think this is easily for the New York Giants and for Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. This is, for them, a pivotal draft. Because, look, not only are they trying to build for the future, right? And you're always trying to build a sustainable winner, and that's really what the draft does. It allows you to get cheap, affordable labor, right? Guys who are on rookie contracts, develop them out for 4 and 5 years and build towards the future. So they're trying to do that, while at the same time they understand that, hey, look, man, we got to win this year because of how things have transpired over the past couple of years, namely last year with Saquon going to Philadelphia. Look, they will. The image will be burned in all of our heads, the way in which John Mara talked to Joe Shane in his room that day when they were trying to figure out what to do with Saquon Barkley, and the way in which he basically pleaded with him to please do not mess this up. Please do not send him, not have him come back here and have him go somewhere else and wind up ripping it up and have us all sitting here looking like fools, which is exactly what they did. So I think now that he has really given them the directive that, look, we need to find a franchise quarterback. Let's move on from the Saquon Barkley part of this. We need to find a franchise quarterback in this draft or somewhere down the line. We need to find one. And now that they have signed Russell Wilson, now that they have Jameis Winston, now that who knows what they're going to do with the number 3 overall pick, more than likely not pick a franchise quarterback. And if they don't pick a franchise quarterback there, whoever they do pick, whether it's Abdul or Travis, you have to nail that pick. You have to nail that pick. That pick has to be a yellow jacket type of pick, a Hall of Famer type of pick. And then they still have to address the quarterback position. And then they still have to deal, when you're talking about the division, Stephen A., they have to deal with the reigning and defending champions a Washington team that's on the rise now, and a Dallas team that can rise up and beat anybody at any time. There's no question it's on Joe Shane and the New York Giants.
I agree with Lewis 100%. Now, remember, they had a good draft last year, and he did get a guy, Neighbors, with that first pick, 8th, whatever number he was going to be great. And he had a good, if you look at who he picked last year, he had a very good draft. So Shane has a successful 2024. Listen, I disagree with Lewis about Sanders. This is a weak quarterback class. The Giants picked, and the Browns, they picked the wrong year to be bad when they needed a quarterback. This is a weak quarterback class. And so I think the Giants have sensed, and they could be wrong. I know Lewis loves them. They could be wrong. They have sensed that Sanders is not good enough to be selected 3 over Abdul Carter or Hunter. So they're going to take one of those two, whoever's left over. And then the Giants are going to see where everybody else falls. And when they have the 34th pick in the draft, they will, if they want the kid from Mississippi, if Sanders goes all the way down that low in the first round, maybe the Louisville quarterback, the Giants will figure out a way to get a quarterback with that second-round pick. But the Giants and Cleveland pick bad years when you have to have a quarterback. They feel, they might be wrong, but they feel it's a weak quarterback
I think people
class.
are sleeping on Sanders.
Mad Dog is absolutely right. The weakest quarterback class probably ever in the NFL history of the NFL.
I think Sanders is going to be very good at the NFL level, if not great. I think people are sleeping on him. If you're going to tell me that Baker Mayfield can ball, if you're going to tell me that Brock Purdy can ball, don't tell me that Shedeur Sanders can't end up living to that.
Here's the difference, though. You make that comparison, but Baker Mayfield has took his team deep into the playoffs in the NFL. So is Brock Purdy. Shedeur hasn't played a down in the NFL. He didn't even win the starting job yet. And if you look at the college records of those two quarterbacks compared to Shedeur's, their college career is 10 times better than Shedeur's. So it's always, I would bet my life, I would literally put my life on the line that Stephen A. Smith never once watched all 22 film of Shedeur Sanders playing BYU, playing Oregon, or taking 4 tapes of the 4 best teams that Shedeur played and broke down the tape and watched it. I would bet my life he's never even watched tape on him.
That kind of potential. I think he will. I think he'll exceed it. And I think people are underestimating him immensely.
Do you think the Giants should take Sanders at 3?
I wouldn't mind if they did because they desperately need a quarterback.
You know what's
Well, go ahead.
Lewis,
Go ahead, Lewis.
last word
You know
here,
what's
then I'm going to move it forward.
You know what's so interesting to me about Shedeur Sanders is, look, most of the conversation surrounding him, if you ask anybody why they don't like him, it's hard for them to figure out a way to really blow holes in him with his play on the field. This is about a person.
Really, Lewis? Did you watch the BYU game? The whole game? Did you watch Oregon? I don't know who. Maybe in your presence, they think if they say the truth, you'll call them a racist, just like ESPN does to everybody else.
Personal issue that people have with him. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
This is all off the field type of stuff. Personality, how he comes off, how he presents himself, whatever it is that rubs people the wrong way. Because if you're talking about decision-making, accuracy, movement in the pocket, protecting the football, enough horsepower to drive the football at all 3 levels, the amount of stuff that was put on him pre-snap in terms of him being able to change protections, change route combinations, decipher what coverages are post-snap, you can't blow holes in him in that way. You can't. You just can't. And people with his profile, his specific physical.
Well, Lewis, his first year at Colorado, he was 4-8, 4-9. Then he went 8-4 or 9-4 the second year. Didn't play in a major college bowl game. Took more sacks than any college quarterback in the last couple of years. Was absolutely atrocious in his bowl game against BYU. Rented out a strip club. No, it's just racism.
Profile and mental profile have had tremendous careers. So if someone could just make a credible argument to me about what it is that they don't like about his physical traits and how he plays the position, I'd love to hear it.
Well, one, Lewis, now I don't know, I'm not an expert. You are. One is the 99 sacks that he took as a player. And number 2, everybody.
Do you know how many? Doggy? Do you know how bad his offensive line was? Do you know how many free runners he had coming at him? He had at a rate that no other quarterback in FBS had coming at him. See,
it's always the offensive line's fault. Always. So you can't put Shedeur in the shotgun? Give him more time? Make the throws? Nope. It's the offensive line's fault. There's always an excuse for Shedeur's garbage play. Here, I'll make the argument. He holds onto the ball too long, always trying to make the big play. And at the next level, he even has less time to get rid of the ball because being open is like this much. You're not going to be open by 3 feet. Then when he's back in the pocket, he has a tendency to sway like in a weird type of way. He doesn't come straight back and straight up. Then when you look at Shedeur against his best competition, he played horrible. Lost every game. I think he was like 1-7, whatever he was. Been coached by his dad his entire life. Had the job handed to him. Never had to compete to be the starter. This is the first time in his life he's going to have to compete, and I think he's going to mentally crumple when it's not handed to him. I can make a whole argument why Shedeur is not a first-round pick or very good.
These are the kind of nuanced statistics that people ignore. They just look at the sacks and go, see, he holds the ball too long.
Lewis,
Right.
hold on,
Right.
hold on, because I got a question. I'm not debating with you. I got a question.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming
Yep.
from. I suspect you're right. We're hearing anonymous evaluators in the National Football League to use the example of the offensive line, which we all saw.
You know why they're anonymous? Because the majority of NFL teams have black players, and then you'll have racist Ryan Clark and woke ESPN call those general managers racist, and that'll cause problems on their team. So they have to remain anonymous. That's why. Because of guys like Stephen A. Smith, racist Ryan Clark, Riddick, that's why. They can't put their name on it because it'll destroy the team that they're coaching or have a job with.
We all saw him get slaughtered, particularly last year, more so than this past season when they were 4-8, okay? We've seen him get beat up, and they're saying it's primarily because he holds on to the football too long. I don't believe that, but this is what NFL evaluators are saying. Anonymously, of course.
And you know what?
What do you make of that? What do you make
Of course. And then you know what they say right after that?
He's going to melt down.
When they say he holds on to the ball too long, then they call him check down Charlie when he does decide to get rid of the ball quick. And then Pat Shurmur is.
Here, I know you're going to have a meltdown because you think somebody's talking bad about Shedeur. His father play calling at Colorado, 80% of the time they threw the football to pad Shedeur Sanders' stats. I don't know about behind the line of scrimmage down the field. It doesn't matter. All the passes are not deep down the field, obviously. It's like 30% of the passes are behind the line of scrimmage. Of course, woke ESPN will blame the offensive line and not Shedeur's play because that's what we're dealing with here. But you're not allowed to bring in the fact that Deion purposely threw the ball 80% of the time, not 60-40, 50-50, not even 70-30, 80% of the time to inflate Shedeur's stats. Oh, go figure. But wait, he's the best quarterback ever, but never played in a major college bowl game. Best year was 4 losses in a weak division. Colorado, that's not even the cream of the crop college football, Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever it is.
Calling wide receiver screens so he doesn't get slaughtered. Then they go, see, he can't push the ball down the field. See, he doesn't have enough arm strength. It's like, well, pick which one you want.
All right.
When he does try to hold on to the football, when he is trying to find Travis and Jimmy Horn down the field, and his offensive line isn't giving him more than 2.5 seconds to try and find someone down the field, then you're saying he's holding on to the ball too long. Which one do you want? If you personally don't like him, which we also hear the anonymous people say, he's just so entitled. Who does he think he is? Then just say that's what it is. It's cool. I mean, people don't like everybody. But when you start picking and choosing,
Louis Riddick is trying to indicate that it's a race. See, Shedeur tries to act like his dad with the media, like, I don't care what y'all think about me. With that type of attitude. Your dad could do that. He's retired, making $30 million a year to coach, Hall of Fame. When you go for a job interview and you haven't played a snap, you can't have that attitude, Louis. Has nothing to do with race. Zero, zilch. But hey.
I don't think that's what it is. I just want to be on the record. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, doggy. I'll say it right in front of you. I believe that Shedeur Sanders, people don't want the thought of having to deal with him because that's dealing with his dad. In other words, your dad's going to be in your ear. Your dad's going to talk to you. Your dad is one of the greatest athletes who have ever lived and is obviously highly accomplished and knows football inside and out. So as a result, him listening to him.
Hey, Stephen A. Smith, this is another stupid argument. His father was a defensive back. So if the coach wants it a certain way, it's not up to effing Dion to decide how the play should be ran. Just do what you're told. If the coach wants it ran this way, like, why do you think Dion and his kid have the right to override the coaches? Like, it's just laughable. It's so arrogant that you think this attitude is okay.
He's going to ask questions. He's not going to just take instructions, just because you say so. He's going to question. He's going to challenge your football.
Listen, Shedeur's not Tom Brady. He didn't even win the starting job. This is what I was talking about 10 minutes ago. He didn't even win the starting job yet and thinks he should be able to collaborate and tell the coach how it should be done. You know when Tom Brady got to do that? After he won his first Super Bowl. Could you imagine Tom Brady or Big Ben their rookie year when they weren't the starters, when Ben was backing up Tommy Maddox and Tom was backing up Drew Bledsoe at the time? If they walked in and said, "We want to collaborate with the coach, tell you how the play should be run," they would tell him, "Get the F out of my office." But with Shedeur, if you don't agree to that, there's something wrong with you. You're a racist.
Intellect. And obviously they'll know where that comes from, because if that was my dad, all right, and I had that kind of background and I had that kind of pedigree to lean on, that makes it more challenging for me to get somebody to march lockstep with what I want them to do if I'm not him.
Wait a minute. So since Dion was a great corner, that somehow gives him the ability to know how to run a pro-style offense. Like, are you effing kidding me? You can't be this effing dumb. So because his dad was a defensive back of all things, like, I could see if he was a quarterback. I could see if it was Arch Manning and Peyton, whatever. His dad's not even a quarterback. But you think Dion is more knowledgeable than the coaches running the team? You don't think you have a mental issue going on here with this logic? Like, what kind of logic is this?
I think that's what this is about. They just can't admit it.
Also true.
Steve,
Yep.
Steve, there has got to be a team in the NFL that needs a quarterback, Pittsburgh included, that if they thought Sanders was that good, would figure out a way to get him. The Browns, the Giants, the Saints, Pittsburgh, the Raiders got Geno Smith.
I would say to you, where
there's got to be a team.
You've been around covering sports long enough to know that what has been pervasive in the world of professional sports is that we've got a lot of executives who are of the mindset, yo, I really don't want to deal with this problem, as opposed to making the best decision.
We just spent time with Pittsburgh. They need a quarterback.
No, Tomlin will do it.
Okay, well, why does he make a trade then? To make sure he gets him?
Let's see.
Why are you so convinced Tomlin will do it? Why? Tell me why. Say it. We all know why you're saying it. Has nothing to do with football. How do you know Mike Tomlin would do it? I don't think Mike Tomlin would do it, because I don't think Mike Tomlin thinks he's that great of a quarterback. It's just another day of racist ESPN making it all about race 24 hours a day. So all the other great black quarterbacks that came in the draft last year, everybody just took their racism and put it to the side, and they brought their racism out because Dion is involved. That's what woke ESPN wants you to believe.
But
Maybe he will. They've got the 21st overall pick, 6 picks in the draft. Well, let's wait and see what happens.
Yeah, Miss Woke herself, she has to chime in, and Tomlin will definitely do it. Like, just shut up. Always trying to get some street cred by just sounding like a complete moron. I just wanted to show you the madness and insanity anytime anybody tells the truth about Shedeur Sanders' play. Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2.